Thumpers Explained. Moonshine Life Group. By J.B. Wagonmaker. Despite what you may have heard previously, many thumpers are not actually used to increase the ABV of the product. It's just that this seems to have been latched onto as the main reason for using 1. Sorry folks, but it just isn't accurate. Admittedly, they will do that, but in many cases it is incidental. The real purpose often tends to be flavor modification. Either to increase or to decrease the flavor, but we can get to that later. Let's also leave what you put into the thumper to start with to later. So how do they work? Simply put, there is a mass and energy transfer out of the primary boiler and into the secondary boiler, the thumper. Yes, a thumper is a true parasitic boiler, and it is heated by the primary boiler. Naturally, what actually occurs happens in phases, and is not quite so simple as stated just above. You really do need to think about what a thumper does in phases, because it actually does different things at different points in the run. Let's start with the simplest version. Add enough plain water to the thumper to cover the end of the vapor injector. Phase 1. Your primary boiler starts producing vapor. This is a mixture of different volatiles determined by the contents of the boiler charge. These all have a boiling point higher than the temperature of the thumper charge. Result is that virtually all of these vapors will condense into the thumper charge. The volume of the thumper charge increases. The temperature also increases because the condensing vapor releases energy. Your thumper is probably loud. This is caused by the violently collapsing bubbles. Phase 2. Your boiler is now warmed up and contains a higher volume of charge. It is most likely a lot quieter. Especially if your vapor injector has been modified to include a diffuser to make smaller bubbles. So what happens now? Your boiler is producing a mixture of volatile vapors. These now hit a hot liquid. Some of them are going to tend to condense into liquid because their boiling point is still higher than the liquid temperature. Some others are likely to get through the liquid. None of them do anything absolute. There is no 100% condensation, just tendencies. So some of the vapor from the boiler gets through the thumper, but the composition has changed. It contains more of the lower boiling point headsy components. Phase 3. The thumper charge has heated up enough that it actually starts to produce its own vapor. Some of this is from agitation by the vapor bubbling through it, and some is from the thumper charge actually boiling. Importantly, the composition of the liquid in the thumper is different to the composition of the liquid in the primary boiler. That means the two vapor streams also have different compositions. So the vapor released from the thumper charge mixes with the vapor from the boiler that just sneaked through the thumper charge. The end result is a vapor produced by the thumper. That vapor is very different from the vapor produced by the primary boiler at that moment in time. It will have a different composition and a higher ABV. The thumper tends to hold back the lighter, higher boiling point components so it compresses the heads cuts. Things continue this way through most of the run. The vapor produced by your primary boiler is constantly changing, as is the vapor produced by the thumper. The two boilers in combination are behaving just like a normal pot still, only a slightly more efficient one. Let's jump towards the end of the run. Phase 4. Your primary boiler charge is now alcohol depleted. It is producing a vapor with a very low ABV, and can be considered to be steam. This is now directly heating the thumper charge. Most of the volatiles produced by the thumper now are being boiled off from the volatiles that remain in the thumper charge. The effect is that the tails are also compressed, so you get a bigger hearts phase. The thumper is still a pot still, so you still need to find the sweet spot power level. Your best option is to find the sweet spot for your primary boiler, without the thumper. Then add in the thumper, and from that starting power level you can experiment with power management to get your run parameters as you wish them to be. Enjoy! Moonshine Life Recipes.